2014's X-Men Days of Future Past is a shining example of just how high this franchise is capable of climbing. The critical as well as the audience response was overwhelmingly positive. The box office results for something that isn't part of Transformers or the MCU was pretty damn impressive. And there's definitely a big bunch of reasons for all the love and success it received. We have these two sets of Infinity War level ensemble casts coming together in one story. We have this laser-focused narrative that carries no extra fat whatsoever. We have these distinctly separate time periods that offer a refreshing amount of variety. A past where the world is simple and primitive, a future where everything is advanced to the max, including some of the most visually striking fight sequence CGI work you'll find.
This is exactly what I've been waiting for. This is exactly what I've been waiting for.
But if I had to identify one key factor behind this movie's widespread success that's worth paying attention to above all else, I would argue that factor to be the thing I just mentioned, the aspect of time. More specifically, time travel. See, the more time travel movies I've come across, the closer I've gotten to the conclusion that time travel in movies by definition leads to strong plots. And what strong plots by definition usually lead to is widely appealing movies that make a bunch of money. There's a reason why films like Infinity War and Mission Impossible generate more ticket sales than all PTA movies combined. Not because they're necessarily objectively better, but because they're driven by plot as opposed to being mainly only about character. Of course, there are always exceptions to the rule, but if you look at the tops of the box office charts as a whole, you're gonna find more plot than full-on character studies. For anyone who hasn't seen my Dead Man's Chest video, which you should, plot essentially is made up of a couple of primary components: goal and stakes and urgency. If you put in the work to lock down these three components for your movie, odds are that your movie has a strong plot. Or alternatively, like I was getting at, if your movie features time travel, then odds are that at least starting from when your time travel section begins, your movie has locked down all these components to form a strong plot just automatically. Because that's what time travel in movies like this one does. And that's also what we're gonna focus on today. Let's take a look at the time travel aspect of Days of Future Past and figure out how exactly by definition it leads to a strong plot, in terms of the goal, the stakes, and the urgency. Here's why, even if your movie doesn't involve time travel, you should still treat it as if it did. First off, the aspect of time travel kind of by default forces you to establish a clearly defined ultimate objective to serve as the basis for the time travel journey. The basic gist here is that in the future, the government has created these robot sentinels capable of mimicking mutants' powers that have pretty much wiped mutants out for good and overall made the future pretty grim. And so, as a last-ditch effort, our heroes come up with the plan of sending Logan into the past. Not because that's something fun they just feel like doing for no reason, but because of a very specific reason.
The Paris Peace Accords in 1973, after the Vietnam War, she found Trask. But killing Trask did not have the outcome she expected. It only persuaded the government of the need for his program.
Right, so immediately the movie establishes that the way to stop this grim future from happening is to go back to the Paris Peace Summit of 1973 to find and convince Mystique not to kill the creator of the Sentinels, Bolivar Trask, because that kill is the thing that definitively proves to the world and the government that mutants are a threat. And there's also a couple smaller checkpoint objectives of first finding Xavier and Magneto to accomplish this.
And find me. Convince me of all of this.
You'll need me as well. It's going to take the two of us.
In other words, 10 minutes in, we now have a clearly defined destination that always gives this movie direction. Why is Logan fighting these mobsters after he wakes up? Because he needs to go meet young Xavier and get to the Peace Summit. Why are we hanging out in this kid's basement? Because we need his help to free Magneto and get to the Peace Summit. Why are we just sitting around in this plane? To get to the Peace Summit. Why are we watching Mystique seduce this random Vietnamese army officer? Oh, right. Every moment and scene carries purpose. Everything we see feels like it's moving us forward, because we know what it is we're moving towards. Even when the characters themselves don't yet know they're headed to the peace summit, we do, ensuring that there's not a single place in time where we feel lost or bored. All thanks to the aspect of time travel. Because as you've seen here, time travel by definition implies reason, intent. It's not something you usually do just for the heck of it. Even if your hero travels to the past accidentally, they still most likely have an ultimate objective of getting back to the future. Even after the peace summit here has come and gone, we still know exactly what it is we need to do and stop from happening.
Like I said, I know exactly what I have to do.
Then wherever you go, I will find you. And Raven, if you make me, I will stop you.
As is the case in any great strong plot. But in addition to just narrative direction, the same method also helps you define and give layers to your characters. For example, most of our heroes here operate with the mindset that they can convince Mystique to abandon her revenge hunt for Trask, that convincing her is the way to achieve the ultimate goal of saving the future. But once we then finally get to that moment of convincing, turns out that one of our heroes actually has a very different mindset. When it's time to choose how to actually accomplish the goal of saving the future, Magneto establishes himself as very much unlike Xavier and the others. He doesn't gamble, he doesn't compromise, he's so determined to ensure his race's future that he's willing to pay even the price of killing someone he cares about. Which not only places him in direct conflict with those around him, but also builds him up as his own real three-dimensional person. Which is why he is such a great villain/anti-hero. Because it's like I keep saying, character and goal-driven plot aren't mutually exclusive, they build each other up. And all you have to do this is just think like time travel. Whatever journey it is that your characters go on, base that journey on an all-defining ultimate objective we're always moving towards, and then make the characters differ in how they're willing to achieve it. The second strength that comes from time travel is the sense of much more inherently powerful stakes, and therefore much more inherently powerful audience investment. The first very obvious reason for this is that since your story revolves around a reset button, that allows you to do things on a level that you usually maybe wouldn't dare to climb up to. You know, things like when the Sentinels show up at the beginning and then proceed to kill pretty much all of our hero mutants, that shows us right off the bat what it is we're watching. These things aren't here to mess around. This movie isn't here to mess around. We're going without a safety net and we're going all in. We're shown right away that bad things can happen and will happen, which is why we're fully immersed in what's happening. And it can be argued that because this reset button exists, in reality there's no reason to take anything seriously. But I would argue that if done correctly, that reset button actually carries the opposite effect. Because whereas usually movies operate under the pretense of what if, time travel movies like Days of Future Past can operate on the certainty of yes unless.
In the future, do I make it?
No. But we can change that. Right?
See, when this movie opens on a grim, war-torn future where pretty much all mutants have been either killed or captured, it makes us fully realize that, oh, we lost, and this is the result of that loss. And so now, once we set out on our journey into the past, the stakes aren't built on the implied potential of what might happen, but instead on the certainty of what will happen.
Sentinels will find us. They always do.
And this time we won't be able to run. We'll have no escape. This is our last chance.
We know for sure that if we fail to assemble Xavier and Magneto, if we fail to stop Mystique from killing Trask in front of the world, this is the result. Our mission isn't as much a preemptive prevention as it is a final shot second chance to make things right, which is where real stakes come from. We don't really know to appreciate the value in the life we have until it's been taken from us. We can't really ever understand the true importance of stopping a purple space tyrant from snapping his fingers until we've seen all of our friends friends turn to dust. Even in horror, where most of the fear comes from not knowing, we don't really get afraid until we've been given a clear reason to be afraid. And that's why, time travel or not, you should always find a way to effectively show and demonstrate what is at stake, instead of just implying to it. Once again, not only in terms of developing your plot, but also in terms of developing and defining your characters through what is at stake for them personally.
After Mystique left Charles, she came with me, and I set her on a dangerous path. Darker path.
In other words, I feel responsible for what happened and therefore have had a change of heart and will now do everything in my power to fix things.
Plus, since you've now laid down a clear foundation of stakes by showing them to us, you can then go even higher by building potential on top of it, like happens here at the Peace Summit. Even though we do momentarily succeed at stopping Mystique from killing Trask, it kinda only leads to something even worse.
Well, do we have any countermeasures? Any defense?
I was waiting for you to ask me that question. This creature is extraordinary. Her genes could hold the key to mutation itself.
Yeah, suddenly we're facing a new future where not only has the world seen mutants as a threat, but one where now even the main architect behind the mutant-destroying technology is still for the moment alive and at the helm of that process to fast-track and strengthen it. And also with Mystique still out there looking for an opening to kill him. We knew for certain that things were bad before, but now our imagination is also building on top of that certainty. And whatever your movie, that's what you want. You want to find a way to show the audience that the stakes aren't just a possibility, but instead a certainty. Show them what they're fighting for, show them what they have to lose, and then escalate all of it even higher. Finally, the aspect of time travel in many cases also packs a strong amount of built-in time-related urgency to create this ever-pressing feeling of intensity. Here, for example, when Logan is being sent into the past, it's not like the future just nicely goes on hold or whatever, but instead very much the opposite.
Your body will go to sleep while your mind travels back in time. As long as you're back there, past and present will continue to coexist. But once you wake up, whatever you've done will take hold and become history.
Right, so as Logan is doing his thing in the 70s, at the same time his real body and all the other heroes in the future are now stuck in place, just waiting to be found and ambushed by the Sentinels, which we've already established to be unavoidable and unstoppable. And just like that, just because of the time travel aspect, the entire movie now has a built-in ticking clock to keep up the sense of urgent intensity. We not only have to do this stuff, we have to do it before it's too late.
We won't have much time in the past. Sentinels will find us. They always do.
I will say though that this could have been handled a bit better here in practice. There's a long section in the middle where we never go back to the future at all, which kinda makes us forget about the whole Sentinel deadline altogether, which might have been because they cut out that future subplot of going out to save Rogue before Kitty bleeds out.
To be clear though, I think it was the right choice to keep the future to a minimum to maintain focus. I just think it could have been great to show some small visual evidence of the Sentinels in the future getting on our heroes' tail so we don't forget them.
But you get the point. In order to make the audience sweat, you need to start a fire under their seat and keep that fire going the whole way. Or alternatively, have the seat start to gradually fade off from under them.
Let me see that photograph again of your brother.
It's gone. It's like it's been erased.
That said, the very best example that really highlights the true inherent power carried by urgency is this movie's third act. In a nutshell, after the Paris Peace Summit mess-up, Trask is now at this White House press conference event to unveil his mutant-hunting Sentinels to the world, with Mystique somewhere out there to finish what she started, something that Logan's team has to put a stop to. But then there's a bit of a hiccup. Yeah, suddenly Magneto shows up with a baseball stadium to take control of the Sentinels in an effort to assert public mutant dominance, giving Mystique the perfect opportunity to get right up close with Trask. And so already we have a pretty heated finale sequence. But since pretty heated isn't nearly enough, guess what now also happens in the future? As if things weren't looking bad enough, the Sentinels of the future now arrive at the temple and are just mere moments away from getting inside to Logan's body and killing everyone to trigger the timeline change before the past is fixed. As in, not only do we have to worry about Mystique fulfilling her plan of killing Trask, not only do we have to take on young Magneto and his army of Sentinel prototypes, we also have to do all of that before the Sentinels of the future get inside. And it's like, there's no way. There's no way we can just beat Magneto up like that. There's no way we can hold the Sentinels off long enough. There is simply no way we can get this done in time. Which is the exact feeling you want the audience to have, time travel or not. If your hero is saving a woman he cares about in a house in Venice, then force him to do it before the house sinks. If your hero is trying to make his mom and dad fall in love, then force him to do it before he fades off from existence. And then find a way to do something similar for the whole movie. Because that's how you create a true intense experience. That's how you build up to a resolution that feels incredibly emotionally rewarding. There was no way we could get done what we had to do in the time we were given. And yet that's exactly what we did. Overall, just remember this: achieving the objective that we set out on a journey for, overcoming the abysmal defeat dangled right in front of us, getting all of that done just before time runs out, those are qualities of a great plot-driven time travel movie. But they're also qualities of a great movie.